Welcome back to the Vera House podcast. If you're a Richmonder listening in or watching, surely you already know that Richmond is a very unique place with tons of history, some good and some bad. As a city on the river, we are in a constant battle between movement and stillness. Every day, we see more skyscrapers and apartment buildings going up, and at the same time, we're improving our parks and our connection with nature. We are an ever-growing busy city, always trying to somehow live in harmony with peace and quiet. And that is exactly where today's conversation begins. Because what we're starting to see in Richmond is a huge growing demand for wellness, for self-care and restoration, and for experiences that contribute to our peace of mind. That's why today we're very excited to be joined by the team behind one of Richmond's most intentional and thoughtful annual events, Rest Fest. The Wellness Festival is taking place on May 9th at Dogwood Dell right here in Richmond, and you can learn more at rvarestfest.com. Now, if you've been paying attention to this shift towards wellness, slowing down, and more mindful living, you'll be delighted to hear that RestFest is bringing together one of the best curated events in RVA's wellness community, including practitioners, wellness, brands, and personalized experiences, all centered around restoration, presence, and connection. Today, we're joined by the organizers of the event. Rick Plautz, founder and creative director of RestFest, a Richmond-based entrepreneur and creative who's been deeply involved in building community-driven experiences, bringing a clear vision for what intentional wellness-focused gathering can look like at a local level. Also, we have Lindsay Hess, operations and production manager behind RestFest, known for her work in curating thoughtful, experience-led environments, shaping everything from the festival's aesthetic to making sure the event runs smoothly and ensuring it feels as intentional as the philosophy behind it. Today, we're going to talk about what RestFest actually is, why this year is the perfect time for something like this in Richmond, and what people can expect during the festival. So Rick, Lindsay, thanks so much for coming into the studio today, and thanks for being on the show. Everyone may rise. We have our Zen going on. It's the Wellness Festival. We're getting ready. It's RVA Rest Fest, and I feel quite Zen.
I feel very Zen. Yeah.
Welcome to the resistance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, this is a fun episode of the Vera House podcast. What are we resisting, you think?
Well, I mean, everything right now is designed to fragment our attention. So one of the best ways to resist these systems is to unplug and focus on ourselves. And I think a lot of self-care is a powerful form of resisting these systems that are always demanding our attention.
Hopefully we have everybody's attention, you know?
I think we got some people.
We're fully embracing the resistance by overcoming the attention barrier.
Yeah.
So a lot of your journey, Rick, started around COVID in a way. I mean, I guess many of us can probably relate to the craziness of COVID, but I think wellness for everybody probably changed around that time period. So what stands out for you? Because this is kind of the beginning of when this whole idea of Rest Fest kind of like came into your orbit a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when COVID happened, I got really into running because I felt like I have asthma, so it was a respiratory illness. And I was like, oh, I better be in better shape. And I remember kind of running up and down Monument Avenue and just realizing how kind of out of shape I was, but then thinking about what else was out there to explore. Like, I don't love running. There's other things I can be doing to be healthy. And as I got into understanding what was in Richmond, I realized it was all very fragmented. Like, there was good people doing amazing work, but it took a lot of legwork to get into the community. I mean, it's on Eventbrite, it's on Instagram, it could be in the email, it could be just a flyer in the city. So like, that was what started for me thinking about making Rest Fest was, it takes a lot of legwork to get in here to understand what's going on. But once you get in there, it's beautiful. Like, there's so much amazing work happening, and a lot of it's really accessible. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, the best way to make this something that everybody can find and enjoy is to create a festival around these people so they can all come together for one day, and everybody that's curious about what's going on can experience it at like a relatively low risk way. So they don't have to invest a bunch of time and money into finding something that might not work for them. Like I think about your dad came to the first Rest Fest and he had never done a breathwork class before, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had never done a breathwork class before. And that was, pretty life-changing for him as well.
What did he do? He kept doing something after that.
He still does breathwork today.
Yeah.
But I mean, he had an incredibly intense experience. It was like his first 45 minutes of being there. But it's those things that open right now, Dad is working on, we finished a Harvard class together a couple months ago, and now we're studying with a Stoicism teacher.
Nice.
He's a French guy he's a British guy that lives in the French countryside. And my dad found him on Discord. And we meet with him separately, but this is something that we now share together as well. So what Rest Fest did for him, I would say I won't speak for my dad, but I would say he wouldn't be in the Stoicism classes. We wouldn't have taken the Harvard class if we didn't have the breath work.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, it's cool how we find like our own little cliques in different spaces, right? Like my sport of choice is cycling, but I've also gotten into running. And what you said is totally accurate, which is at first it's hard to like find these kind of groups and communities and stuff. And maybe that is because Richmond is such a small town. And yeah, there we go. We got some nutrition going on.
Yeah.
But once I found like a cycling community, then it's very encouraging and you kind of settle into it. You make friends, you meet people, you get out of your comfort zone, and you just happen to be participating in exercise and wellness along the way. So that could be the same thing, I'm sure, for running. And like there's running clubs everywhere now.
Exactly. The running clubs, I think, is like the most visible part of the wellness trend or the wellness push, which I'm a hater from time to time, especially when things are just immediately popular. I'm skeptical. Why does everyone think this is cool? Let's give it some time, let it settle. And then if it's still happening, then I'll tune in and see what's up. Wellness isn't new and being physically active isn't new, but I'm always skeptical of the hype. But what I think this has done in a positive light is given people an excuse to be interested in it. It's like, well, I wasn't really into the holistic approach. I don't think I'm really down with incense and things like that. But all of my friends who are cyclists are talking about breath work and going to sound baths now. So the transition there is a little easier, right? So you're getting these people that may not have already been interested in it, but by proxy, it's becoming more accessible. And I think that's pretty cool. Like that's a good thing overall for everyone.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and Rest Fest is in its third year now, right? I think we can officially say it's reached it's surpassed the cool barrier.
Yeah. It's an official thing that's happening.
Welcome back, Rick.
I know my eyes too red. I was too zenned out.
You're too zen.
You were resisting too hard.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's in the third year. It's the perfect time. I think we have an idea. It was validated. People wanted it. Now we can improve on it. And I think every year it needs to be evolving. And I love the idea of having something it's really a creative project. And how do we let it evolve? Not to become bigger and better. How does it become the most fully realized version of what it needs to be?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And this third year at Dogwood Dell is the attempt at seeing what this will be like on this stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I feel really good about. I feel like we're hitting this cultural zeitgeist in a really powerful moment when people need a release. And it's a perfect place to do that. And the fact that it's, donation based and open to everybody.
And as I see the classes, as I started doing this, a couple of years ago and starting to go into classes, sometimes I'd go to class and there'd be 2 people there. That was pretty normal. Quite often now it's sold out. You can't really, it's getting to the point now where kind of just what you said, like, oh crap, did I just open the door? The door's open now. Like now I could usually, if I wanted to go to a sound bath at 5:30 on Wednesday, I could usually sign up at noon. That's becoming, it's just showing that the demand's there. There's more people showing. So, if we depending on the, the turnout that we have, say it's 500, 1,000 people, say, even just 70 people say, hey, this means something. That's just more people that are going to be filling up more classes. The demand's there. We have plenty of places to hold the classes. We have plenty of teachers to do it. It's just going to be just adding to, we're only on this planet for a finite amount of time. And like, what do you want to do? What do you want to use your talents for?
Yeah.
How do you want to make an impact? And this is quite a beautiful way.
What's your discipline of choice? Are you a runner? Like, what's your thing?
I only run if I'm being chased.
Okay, fair.
Same.
I am a mixture of like light weights, 15 to 20 minutes of yoga, and sound baths. So like my mornings reading as well. So, I mean, me getting ready, taking my time is about 2 hours in the morning, a little bit of all of that, and then some journaling as well. And kind of mentioned earlier about that breathing. Like I know what I need to do, what I need to breathe into. If I'm not feeling something in my back or whatever it is, I'll give a little bit more time to whatever's necessary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nothing better than a slow morning.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite thing. Slow mornings. But like this whole thing just reminds me or it's made more of, affirming something that I have seen and witnessed, but that I've heard other people talk about, which is wellness is trendy now. And at first that sounds like, trendy. Things being trendy is kind of like the opposite of what you want in a wellness community. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Because trendy is, like I mentioned before, sometimes that's what gets to people. That's what's going to motivate somebody who's never done a workout class, who's never gone on a bike ride, who's never been to a run club to start. Mm-hmm. And if it gets people out of the house and gets them moving and gets them in a community, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now I can be a hater and be like, oh, run clubs is like the popular. Sure. But if there are 100 people in 8 different run clubs, where 2 years ago you couldn't pay anybody to get up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday and go run 6 miles, but now it's like a cool thing to do. Sure, if that's what it took for people to become a part of this community, I think that's fine.
Yeah,
I think that's part of what happened with COVID. Is people realized they hit a breaking point. Like these regular things I've been doing for these years, working, drinking too much, like all that stuff, it hit a breaking point, and we had the chance finally to like take a break when we had to be shut in. It gave us a chance. I mean, hopefully it gave us a chance to reflect on what wasn't working, and I think a lot of systems broke because of that in a good way. And then after COVID, it's like, okay, how do we approach our leisure differently? How do we do it in a sustainable way that's helpful to us as people? I saw that. That's what I kind of felt like just on the community level with me personally, but like seeing people around me, like anecdotally.
Yeah. And as we move away from spending, Friday and Saturday at the bar, what do you do? I mean, one of my favorite artists, Tyler Childers, when he's about 2.5, 3 years sober, and at one of his shows last New Year's, he hasn't spoke much about his sobriety, but in this one show, he speaks and he says, the one thing that I got back is time. And he almost loses his voice as he says the word time. Mm-hmm. Because it's such an incredible thing to get back. But then once you have it, you're like, oh, what do I do?
What do I do with all
what
this
do I do with all of this time?
And like, I think it's understated the amount of time that you get back when a large portion of your like social calendar or your time spent not doing work was extracurriculars, let's call them, drinking, going out, eating out, hanging out with your friends. There's a lot of time, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you want to be social and be active. I was very much into that lifestyle for a very long time. But when it's not there, you don't know what else to do, you realize, holy crap, I have so much extra time.
Yep.
And I mean, like, the things that you thought were taking up most of your day don't take that long at all. And maybe that's because you have more time to devote to them. So it's not as distracting. You're getting more things done. But then you look around, it's like, well, I have the second half of my day, and then all of tonight, and then all of the rest of this week, and then Saturday and Sunday to kind of do whatever you want, because you're not obligated to do these things that you were doing before. You're You're not spending hours each day dealing with the aftermath of having spent hours and hours out with your friends or what have you. And then that's a period of time. And I think after, or some period of time, after all that reflection, then you start to gravitate towards the things that maybe have been on your list for a while. Like, I think I wanted to take a karate class for years, and I just didn't think I had the time. So you do now. You can take 6 karate classes if you want, which is pretty cool.
Well, and it's tough too, because there's no dry bar for like people that don't drink. Like, where do you go to socialize when you're not drinking? There's not that many options until you have to like really dig in the community.
Well, and to make it just about drinking. It's like, I actually don't want to have a drink I don't want to just go and have a drink in my hand to go stand somebody to have a drink in my hand. That doesn't. What are we doing here?
Yeah. It's so funny how that becomes like the most thing that you think about. It's like, well, I already know who you are. I just met you for the first time, but what else are we going to do here? And then you realize all we did was drink what we were given, and then make what we talked about was what we were drinking, and so on and so forth. And you're just like, okay, well, now I definitely got to figure out what else we're going to do. What else I want to talk about? And is this even the place that I want to do it?
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing I will say about people finding alternative like things to do when they stop drinking is like Richmond shows up to things.
Yeah. It's so cool.
It's so cool.
Yep.
People will show up to the thing if you put it out there. It's fascinating. And like that's a Richmond thing. I think that's really rare in other cities.
I think it's very cool. If you're not being distracted, that's kind of the beauty of it. I think we were talking to a guest last week that said, if you're ever bored, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Because there are thousands of things to do, and that's not even an exaggeration. Now, the tricky part is, because it is a small town that's disguised as a big city, you do have to go hunting for it. You have to Google it. You have to ask people, and you have to find the instructions at the exit of something else, because they're not going to be on a sign at the end of the block. They're not going to be on TV, and they're hardly going to be on the internet. So you kind of have to do a little bit of digging, but that's just it. There is always something to do somewhere with somebody cool.
It's really beautiful too, because it's people that have a passion for something and doing it on their own, which is why it's not this centralized location with all these like clear instructions. Like they have an idea, they want to see it happen. People show up for it, and sometimes the instructions aren't clear because it's one person doing it because they care, and like there's a ton of people like that around that care and want things to happen. And once they put the word out, there's always like a group of people that show up, and it's been so heartening to see that out of Richmond over the years. And not with ResFest, not only with ResFest, but like other things too, just seeing people show up. It's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think COVID was a huge pattern interrupt for a lot of people, and it caused them to lean into all these things that maybe they didn't know existed, right? Like whether it's like, I see the sword fighting in the park, like, it's like, how do you get into that? I want to do that, and there's so much to do. And I think because a lot of the normal things you would participate in during that time period were kind of taken away, like dining out, going to the bar, like any sort of packed social event disappeared, then people did look for alternatives. And I think it's a good thing that we've kind of like carried that along with us. And now we do see that people have all these different hobbies, and they've leaned into wellness and maybe stopped drinking. And it's like a totally different lifestyle post COVID. But I think along with that now, we've been forced to like look social interactions in the face, right? It's like, it was totally a pattern interrupt. It's like, oh, we're just living life and doing things. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second, like this is really strange. And we're forced.
Do I even like doing this?
Yeah.
Like, we've been doing this for years.
I don't have to do this anymore.
It's like, wait a minute. Like, why have I been doing this every weekend for the last 25 years? Like, I don't think I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Which is, it can be unnerving, because if you just abruptly change, then the question is, well, what do I do now? And that's an experiment and a journey all on its own. And, it takes a little time and some bravery, and you might have to make new friends. You might have to go to another city, and that's scary.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just like, why am I drinking this? But it's like, who are my friends? Who are the people that I care about who are my family members, who are my partners, like all those things got reassessed in COVID, you know?
It's literally just like the Truman Show. It's like in that movie, you know, it's like you're just living life and going to work and doing what everyone else is doing. And then all of a sudden, like a studio light falls out of the sky and you're like,
wait a minute.
Wait a second. Like, what's that? You know, or
Am I being recorded right now?
or your wife starts reading an advertisement to you and you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
What is this? You know, and it makes you like look at what's going on and you're like, wait, where am I? What is happening?
You know, that's one, in my opinion, that's one of the upsides. Now, COVID, for all overarching purposes, was tragic for lots and lots of people. But for the people that it didn't really directly affect, I think for me personally, it was an opportunity. It was an opportunity that was forced. Like, you didn't stop one day and say, I think I'm going to take 4 months to figure out what it is I actually enjoy. You had no options. For most people, they didn't keep working. I was at home. I was, paying the bills with the little checks that we were given, and I had nothing but time. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't hang out. It was just sitting at home, looking at YouTube, and then reevaluating what I had done up until that point. I went down this road where I was like, I think I want to be a movie producer, and I think I want to write a film, and I think I want to be a 3D graphics animator, and I think I want to produce music again. And these are all things that have been put on the shelf for the betterment of just sustaining general careers. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to work and I'll worry about the stuff that I like later. But given all that time, you had the opportunity to like truly reflect on what it is you were doing and what it is you really liked. And I like to think that was an opportunity that just wasn't planned. And I think most people maybe they didn't see it that way, but it definitely affected them in the same manner, because afterwards your viewpoint changed. The things you used to do for fun changed. The things now, that's a large part to do with society and access to things. But I think it was for the better for most people. And now that things like this are becoming popular, it's very apparent that we weren't alone in the shift.
I like to call it an awakening, like the shift that you're saying. I think energetically, like on a woo level, it was like a spiritual awakening kind of forced on us, because we're, as humans, not very good at collectively self-reflecting. Things had to be forced onto us to like actually change.
Yeah.
And that was
the
like
pandemic didn't go to plan. The opposite happened. Everybody woke up and they're like, wait a second, what are you doing to us?
Yeah. Like I think about like, there's this argument in some politics about like, well, if you gave everybody basic income, they would just get lazy and not get jobs. And it was like, okay, well, we got that in COVID. We got the ability to step off of the hamster wheel and have our needs paid for. And what the first thing that happened was we got super pissed about systemic racism, and like the entire world got pissed about it. It was actually, looking back, like very beautiful that we all, like, once we got off the hamster wheel, we were able to see what was really happening and address it really passionately. And I think after that, it started there, but then it also became like, okay, what can I do for my own personal life to improve my situation? And I think that's where wellness really took off, which is why it's not necessarily trendy. It's more like a reaction that then became sustainable and enjoyable.
Yeah. I mean, from a sustainable angle, from the business side as well, for people to offer spaces and services and expertise and then train to become experts, that was part of the physical wellness and health industry, but maybe not as big of a part of it as it is now. Mm-hmm. And I think that definitely had a big part to do with it, is the time for people to reflect on what was really important as far as health and wellness. And then for people to decide that they wanted to dedicate their time to learning how to provide the service for other people, dedicate the time to changing their own approach to it so that they could then teach other people how to do these things. Yeah. And, without enough people that are subject matter experts or have personal experience that they can share, it just doesn't spread. It'll be a small community in pockets, kind of like it was for a very long time in Richmond specifically. It's just, there's a studio in Southside. There's one in Carytown. There's one in Northside. There's one in the East End. And if you didn't know anything about, let's call it like extracurricular health and wellness, because you got the gym and the grocery store, but then the level up is like, I don't even know what is a sound bath? I just listened to the radio. I don't know what that means. Given enough time, and you kind of move past the status quo. You're like, oh wow, I think I'm discovering some things about this other world that I really wish that I knew about prior to now. And I think that was just a sweeping experience for lots of people, because now it's not a strange thing to say, I'm going to a sound bath, I'm going to yoga, I'm going to Pilates, I'm going to the gym, and I'm going to take a class. I'm learning how to become an instructor. I think it's just a side effect.
Yeah. I feel like the future of wellness is going to be on the stage. Like, as we make this more of our part of our lives, we're not going to want to see concerts on stage all the time. We're going to want to see larger entertainment experiences that are actually really powerfully healthy and holistic, and they can be something that large groups go to. Like, can you imagine the new Allianz Amphitheater, but they have like a massive wellness event?
Yeah.
You know, like, I think I can see that happening with wellness now. Like, people want cathartic, beautiful experiences, whether it's through music or movies or whatever. I think wellness deserves to be a part of that too.
I could definitely see that happening, like a big wellness event, because at Allianz it's like a big field. You know, it's like you could do anything 100%. There for the most part. I could totally see that. That would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you think about, like, you keep mentioning this term catharsis, right? And just sort of the awakening and processing and all this stuff, you know, obviously it's more important now than ever. Was there a moment during COVID specifically, or like even at the tail end of that, where you felt like, or you realized that you were somebody who was going to be involved in kind of that like awakening process and kind of like the messenger for wellness here in Richmond?
Oh man, I don't like that word.
Well, you know what I mean, and not not to put all the pressure on you as if you're the one and only messenger, right?
Oh yeah.
But like, in some ways, at some point there's somebody, whether it's you or anybody else, who says, I can participate in this, or I could be someone who is an advocate for getting other people to participate in it as well, right? And clearly, that's definitely the role that you've stepped into, is encouraging others to participate in the way that you have.
Yeah.
So, and even, because we think about it too, like sometimes we're uncomfortable with like being the messenger of some of these stories and stuff, but at the same time, it's, we learn day by day how to step into that role. And clearly you're, have done that and are continuing to do that. So when did that switch happen to where you thought like, oh, maybe I would throw an event? Like,
yeah, I mean, it all came just really naturally. I will say I may not be the right person, but I'm the first person to do it.
Yeah.
Just like you are the first people to do it, and then through that process of being the first, you eventually can become the right person for it through learning how to do it. Is how I kind of consider it, and I really it freaks me out to be the person that did this, even though I am technically, but it's just, I had the idea and I ran with it, and then everybody else joined in, and that's what made it beautiful, and so it's hard for me to really take full credit for it. But yeah, for me, it was like, once I got deep into the community and I was like, this is all beautiful. These people are doing amazing things. And then people need it and it's growing. It was just kind of like, well, how do I make it accessible for everybody in the best way? And also not just accessible, but like, what's the best way for people to experience it?
Yeah.
It should be one day. It should be like a whole day thing where it's like a buffet of what's going on. So everyone can have like just a totally unique experience, but it's all local people. It felt very much like an intuitive, almost like a download. Like a lot of times I feel like, I heard this thing once, the term genius, like the actual definition of it, is more of someone that like receives ideas than is someone that like is a creative genius. Like when you say genius, it's more like you're an antenna. Like you receive the ideas and then your kind of job is to communicate them into the world, which is how I feel more about. Like, I don't want to take full credit for this thing. I received it with whatever antenna that I have. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. I love it. Like, let's go with it, And I always feel like the meaning comes later if you can just receive the idea first, and run with it, it'll make sense at some point,
Yeah. Well, we love the name, like Rest Fest. Yeah. Why do you think people need rest so like, we're in a world full of distractions and intentional distractions and all that stuff. Like, why do you feel rest is so important?
You want to do it?
Okay.
Well, I think, okay, we're in fractured attention world now, where our attention is like the main resource to be mined out of every system that we come in contact with. But that's fatigue. That's not rest. Rest is when you are restored. And if we can make that a focus for people to think about their rest and to be rested, then they're breaking that cycle of fatigue all the time. And I think it's just the beginning of this process of kind of self-reflection for people to be like, okay, how can I take this into my life and integrate it? What is rest to me? And it's Rest Fest is kind of there to present people with options and tools to come home to themselves, and hopefully do it on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what are the both of your backgrounds? Like how, obviously up until this point, like what is your background as far as your work and stuff? Because obviously this is a job, right? It's a passion project. It takes a ton of time and effort and energy and people and volunteers and all that stuff. So where do you find the time to work on this project?
Rest Fest is not my full-time job. I'm a producer at a company in town called Tilt Creative and Production, and our planning starts January 1, basically. So Rick and I are, we're in constant contact because we're great friends. But once January 1 starts, Rest Fest. What is the name of the meeting planner? Rest Fest. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So January 1, which is a great time to start off the new year. And we start meeting weekly. We start talking about schedule, start talking about who we want to get involved. So it starts to take up quite a gigantic chunk of our time. I mean, a couple weeks ago, we were meeting with Richmond Magazine, and I was on a shoot in Northern California inside of in the middle of absolutely nowhere in a Jeep Wrangler trying to get connection to the Starlink so that we could have the call. But I mean, it's what we love, and it's what I know so many people, like, amazing things don't happen by, like, pressure makes diamonds, right? Amazing things don't happen by just not working hard towards them. So I'd say it'd be great if we could take a couple months off, January to May off and focus totally on this. That would be a beautiful thing, but that's not the resource. That's not the opportunity that we have. So we make the resources that we have and the time we have fit into priorities. I think Rick is big minded. I'm like a very logistical. So he'll start talking about something, and we'll just figure out how to stay on track. And each week it's just working with our awesome partners, Allie and Nikita. What is our focus this week? What do we need to make sure that we cross off? Is it getting RMC events booked? Is it making sure we get one vendor spotlight up? And also having grace with each other, because we are human and things do come up.
We're volunteers. I mean,
yeah. There's never like a scolding. It's like, hey man, I know you're doing your best, and it's a pretty awesome relationship.
Yeah, like just having compassion for everyone's situation
at all times.
And then the people that show up are the ones to keep around too. I mean, I didn't pick you. I couldn't have. No, but like in the best way, like I couldn't have picked you. I would have messed it up. Like you showed up in the perfect way,
She just appeared when you needed it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, exactly. Like, and if I was trying to find someone to do the job, whatever the job was, I would mess it up. I'd rather create the conditions for the universe to like let it happen. And like last year we had the schedule set up by way earlier than this year, but like. This time, I feel confident that we're following the flow intuitively of what's happening, and because we've done that, so many beautiful things have shown up that if we had locked down the schedule earlier this year, it wouldn't have worked.
And to have the schedule released on April 1st. I mean, literally, like the spring is coming. Like you can feel it.
Yeah.
You can see it as well with the pollen.
The pollinating is here. Yeah.
And now we're all here to like bloom, you know, it's beautiful.
I was curious, and I think it's a similar dynamic to Myke and I. Is you're the producer, so more nuts and bolts, and Rick, you're the idea and the theme and the spirit behind it, which I think is a very healthy combination of specialties. But I'm curious, from your perspective, being the person that's somewhat responsible for making sure that, you know, things happen, you know, how is it working in this industry? This, I guess we call it like a space, or, you know, a specialty. Because when I think of health and wellness and holistics and medicine in this case, I think the misconception is that everyone is a hippie and no one's going to show up on time. So what is that like?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a hippie and I show up on time. So
Okay.
No, yeah, that's a really good point. I think it's just, you know, having faith in the people, that everyone that is involved in this, that is on the schedule, is the best at what they do. I think too, with what I do, I mean, I work on sets all the time, and like sometimes some of the most talented people I work with cannot get to their hotel room. So I think it just depends. You just like, you know, you have the right people for the right fit. And really it's just really this energy that you have more so. Like I feel that when I'm on set. I also feel that when I'm at the festival. Like it's just this common good. It looks different when I'm, you know, making a commercial compared to when we're doing this, but it all feels the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's an adventure too. It's like, it's kind of what life is about.
Mm-hmm.
Like taking a risk, seeing what happens, and being adventurous with it, which is why it's important to like always be open to what happens. You know, I think the discernment is key for us. Like, as far as like hippies and showing up on time, it's kind of like we do a lot of work on our own outside of ResFest to experience the community itself. And so there's a lot of super responsible hippies in Richmond, surprisingly. But I think there's also this other thing too, a misconception with wellness is like that, you know, we reject traditional medicine and everything can be solved with like a, you know, oregano oil. I think it's important to like understand, like we still think traditional medicine, Western medicine is important, but like there are many things you can do in your life to prevent you from ending up at an ER or with surgery, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's even like if I have a headache, like just 3 years ago, I would just like slam some ibuprofen. Now I know, okay, let me go try my lavender oil. Let me lay on something hot. Let me do these 3 or 4 other things before I go and take this.
Yeah.
And that's huge in the scheme of things, throwing things into your body.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think we're both kind of on the same mindset is the holistic side of medicine is definitely something, if you haven't experimented with it, if you haven't investigated or learned much about it, you definitely should. Mm-hmm. It's eye-opening, to say the least, because you got to remember modern medicine has only been around for a couple of generations. Let's be real. Like, and in the form that it is most effective, it's not it's not that new, or it is that new, I should say. But the holistic approach is much, much older and has been proven time and time again. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone or for everything. So you should at least investigate it, give it a try. And I think the responsible way to do it is it's used as a stopgap between whatever's happening now and then you eventually seeing a healthcare professional. I think that's the responsible way to do it.
Yeah, there's plenty of things you can do. Yeah. We want to provide that option. You know, people can see those things at ResFest and experience them.
Be happy, be healthy. You mentioned a couple things. You said adventure, a bunch of amazing people. Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love.
Don't forget that. What do you say we give everybody an official invite to ResFest?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're invited to the 2026 ResFest. It's coming to the heart of Richmond May 9th at Dogwood Dell. ResFest is a one-day wellness festival bringing together some of the best practitioners and experiences in Richmond, from yoga, meditation, and breathwork to sound healing, mobility, and recovery-focused sessions, all designed to help you slow down, reset, and reconnect. It's a structured, flowing schedule of sessions and activations, so you can move through different classes, workshops, and offerings at your own pace. One of the most important things to know is that RestFest operates on a pay-what-you-can model. There is no fixed ticket price, but we encourage all attendees to contribute. The goal is to make wellness accessible and open the door for anyone who wants to be a part of it. RestFest is a fully sober environment. There's no alcohol, no distractions, and just a space designed for clarity, presence, and real connection amongst your fellow Richmonders. Vera House will be at RestFest with you on May 9th, and you can view the full schedule, line up, and reserve your tickets right now at rvarestfest.com. So with that, we're going to dive into all the events about the actual festival, so stay tuned, and thank you guys for coming in today and being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So Rick, what would you say is RestFest from your perspective? Like, why did you create it? Why did you start it? How do you describe it to somebody when they ask you?
I'll say RestFest is about wellness in community. So it's an experience where we can all get together for one day and meet other people in our healing journey, whatever that is, and whatever part you're on, you can meet other people doing that. And having, having events, having group classes, music, vendors, talks, just all around wellness. But really the point of that is to give a platform to all the people in Richmond that are doing really amazing work. And so people that can go to RestFest and meet the people that are doing the great work in Richmond and continue on the relationship after the day. Because like one of the things that I saw a lot when you go to retreat, like if you go to Tulum or, Sedona or like all the big retreats, you go off and have an amazing time with these great people and then everybody flies home. And it's like, okay, well, how do you continue on that relationship if you have a really good connection with somebody? And then at the same time, there's amazing people in Richmond doing stuff that you would see on retreats in Tulum and Sedona. So why not just highlight them and have the people that come be able to have a relationship with them after?
Yeah, and kind of bring it all together.
Yeah.
In unity. So when you mentioned the type of work that people do, right? Like what comes to mind for me is yoga and meditation and stuff. Can you maybe do like a little bit of a speed run through what types of things are going to be happening at RestFest?
Yeah. Specifically this year, we're going to start with the yoga. We have like morning flow. Feel free to jump in too. We have a morning flow of yoga, and then in the afternoon, we're going to have breath work and a sound bath and a drum circle and ecstatic dance. And the point of this is because of the theme that we have, which is catharsis. We want to be able to have people provide and experience a really profound release in that day. So by starting kind of slow with yoga in the morning, with some music in the afternoon, and then we have breath work and sound bath and ecstatic dance, by the end of the night, hopefully everyone's on their feet and they've had some kind of release at the end.
Yeah. And so Lindsay, you went to RestFest for the first time when?
2024, the first RestFest. Yep.
So let's say, like, what was your experience when you're thinking about going, right? Because when you say ecstatic dance and stuff, and I'm just picturing myself and thinking, like, I'd be kind of nervous to go if I've never done anything like that before. So what was your experience?
100%. Absolutely. It was definitely out of the ordinary of something for me to attend. I think I spent most of my Saturdays more so at the bar and different environments like that. So opening my world up to a wellness festival was definitely something different. A great friend of mine, Nikita, she sent the link my way. And luckily enough, sweetly enough, my dad attended with us as well.
Nice.
So it was out in Moseley, out in about 40 minutes outside of the city. Dad lived right down the street. And we rolled up and there was just this feeling of like, this is chill. Like you belong here. I think one barrier that I notice in the wellness world is maybe the feeling that you don't belong here. You have to dress a certain way. You have to look a certain way. And that was just not the case from the moment walking up to RestFest. I am a producer myself, so as I was falling in love with what the intention of the day was, I was kind of following this guy around. And by the end of the day, I just went up to him and said, hey, can I be a part of this with you next year? And obviously that worked, because here we are.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, the barrier of entry thing is interesting to me. It always has been. I think I've had some sense of the barrier of the barrier of entry to wellness as a whole, which is counterintuitive, I think, because wellness is supposed to be for the betterment of everyone, right? It's supposed to be inclusive. It's supposed to be something that you're drawn to or something that you gravitate towards because you're looking to just continually better your life in lots of different ways. But that's not how it's marketed or promoted or sold to people. You need money, you need status, you need access, you need the ability to get there. There are all these things that people have to do to just be healthy. But why is that the case? And it sounds like you're trying to circumvent that status quo by opening it up to people and making it accessible and making it just like not a huge decision to go, because it shouldn't be.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think one thing that I think we pride ourselves on is we're dot connectors. I mentioned I'm a producer. I work for a local production company in town. Rick works for Capital One. So we have our full-time jobs. Wellness is not our full-time job, but we do have the ability to connect dots. We do have the ability to attend these classes and meet these amazing facilitators, and in our spare time, put something like this together. So it really has allowed us to lean on each other, to move it forward, and make it go to all different classes of all different people in the city and see, oh my gosh, this person's doing this. It's so cool. Or we need to make sure that we're including this person, and that just the community just continues to, you talk to one person, they talk to another. It's just a really beautiful thing. And I think the world is an incredibly overwhelming place, and anywhere that you can give somebody a place to rest is a beautiful thing.
We need some kumbaya.
We really do. I mean, rest is difficult for lots of people. Mm-hmm. In America as a whole, I know in Virginia, and especially in Richmond, rest is hard. And like, it seems like it's something that should just naturally happen. Is like, oh yeah, you worked all day, you worked all week, you're tired, rest. But like we all know too well that getting good rest is sometimes the challenge in itself. You can't just turn it off. People have anxiety. They have, spinning thoughts that keep them up at wake. I struggle with insomnia, which is like a national, worldwide issue for lots of people. Smartphones and technology don't help at all with that as well. But getting rest, you almost have to be intentional about it. You have to carve out some time in your week and throughout your month to kind of disconnect and break free. And like, you have to put in effort to get rest. And I think making a space or creating a space where you can go and do that with people that guide you in ways that maybe you don't know about or you're not familiar with, that maybe make it easy for you. Then I would wager a guess that some of these things you can take away and like take back to your routine and implement on your weekly and daily goings on, and hopefully teaches people a way to just incorporate a little bit of it intentionally throughout their going on.
No, I hope that every Rest Fest is someone's like fresh start into their own self-care, because you can have, if you want to come the whole day, you could have a full reset in your behaviors and what you do in your routine. And then at the same time, meet new people and have new experiences that you want to keep continuing. And again, like if you have a profound experience with someone leading a class at Rest Fest, then you can go up to them and be like, where are you teaching? Mm-hmm. Where are you around like the rest of the year? And that's really the intention with keeping it local.
One of our, Shayna, she's starting the day off at 10 a.m. She's an incredible yoga instructor, sound bath teacher, a million different things that she does. But one thing that I love about her class, and this kind of gets into no barricades, and something I'd never experienced before, was in her sound bath, she doesn't close her doors. So there's this world where if you're 5 minutes late to a yoga class, they close the door, which is, I understand. Okay, people, they rush to get there. But at the same time, if you really need that class and you're there at 6:35, it's like you're SOL. And the first time I went to her class, I was like, what is going on here? Like, this is great. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what life is. It's not about it being silent in these moments. This is about you breathe through that noise. You let that person walk through the door. You move over for them. Like, that's life. And I've cried so many times in her class just because there's this beautiful release. And she just reminds me of that's exactly as that door opens, as one thought's in my head that I want to finish, but that door opens, that's helping me get through something down the road.
Yeah.
Her class is sliding scale.
Yep.
And so it's accessible as possible to as many people as possible, which, like, one thing we came across last year as like a slogan was wellness isn't a luxury, it's survival. So, like, we should make it accessible to as many people as possible. And I mean, like, full disclosure, the last 2 years that we did it, it was a ticketed event. And for us, I think after the last year, I was like, this isn't what we set out to do. It needs to be closer, shorter, and cheaper to be able to get as many people as possible so they can have an experience that they need.
Yeah. Saying, wellness isn't a luxury and then charging for it is a little ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, we're constantly, evolving this too. Yep. But I feel like this year is really special because we're at Dogwood Dell. It is the first time. It's in Richmond, but I think it was actually great to have it out in, like, Midlothian so we could kind of finalize and tweak the actual experience, but then open it up to a larger audience.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And I mean, I think because it is donation based this year, it's not ticketed specifically. There's no gate. We do rely on a lot of donations. There's a lot of fees and costs involved in putting a festival on that all about as the operations person. But this year feels really special, not just because of that change, but I think culturally right now, I think we're arriving at the perfect moment in the zeitgeist for people to really want a release and to really need something to go to have a release. And the theme we came up with was like way back in October or something, but it just feels like it makes way more sense as it gets closer and closer, like for it to be catharsis, for it to be some kind of release. Like one thing you talk about Shayna, she's a beautiful person to start the whole day off. But like what I'm looking forward to is the breathwork class that's like in the afternoon. And Liz and Ari are kind of like local legends, I think, in the breathwork. And you've been to a lot. I've been to a lot of them. One thing that I love that they both do in their breathwork classes is because it's a lot of intentional breathing. It can get like, it can get really heightened and not overwhelming, but like really activating to be breathing deeply for so long. Right in the middle of it, they're like, okay, on the count of 3, take a big deep breath in and then hold it. And then we're all going to scream as loud as we can together. And so for me, I'm like imagining the amphitheater at Dogwood Dell, like full of people screaming. And like, that is wellness, man. Like, I love it.
I'm pumped.
Yeah. You're gonna freak out the old, the old grandmothers walking their dogs in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah. So talk about the term catharsis, right? Like, what does that mean to you? What do you think of when you think of catharsis? How did you land on that theme?
I mean, that was like, it just kind of came intuitively when we were talking about it last year, planning like the next one. And just the idea of having a theme was new. We hadn't had a theme the last 2 years. And so it just seemed like it fit really well. But the point of it really is to have a release. And we have not been taught in a society really how to release. And there haven't been a lot of opportunities that are welcomed for a release, like for a collective release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I shamelessly looked up the definition of catharsis, and it says, Catharsis is the emotional release, purification, or purging of pent-up feelings such as pity, fear, or anger, resulting in relief or therapeutic rejuvenation.
Sign me up. Yeah. I'm ready.
And with a quick little, in pure fashion with a little history fact, it says here, originating from Greek tragedy, it operates by allowing individuals to process intense emotions safely. Very cool.
I mean, that's an accurate description of what the Rest Fest sounds like it's going to allow people to do,
Yeah.
Well, I think also what we're going through is the country,
Yeah.
Yeah. It literally says
intense
here,
feelings.
examples include crying during a movie, art expression, or talking through traumas in therapy.
Yeah.
Right. So this is almost like a big, rejuvenation. It's like, for lack of better words, healing.
Yeah. I mean, some of these breathwork classes that I've done, I mean, I started 2 Februaries ago, I believe. And I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't actually been breathing. Like, I didn't realize I could breathe into my back, into my lungs, that my lungs were actually in my back. I didn't realize any of this. And what I found is this connection that I have to myself now, this safeness. It's like almost I can feel the cells move through my body because I'm connected to my breath. And it's a very powerful, tool for someone who, I have my own mental health things that I deal with. I have my job can be very stressful. Life can change. And it is wild what breathing has done for how I have not been breathing for probably 31 years of my life.
Yeah.
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 And getting to that homeostasis, knowing when I'm off and closing the door, ringing the bowl, putting the sound bath music or the YouTube on and being all right, this at all costs, my safety at all costs.
Yeah.
That feeling of more of yourself is super underrated. I think about fitness in general, well-being, health in general, and how I like to process things is I like to learn the ins and outs of some of the systems and how the system works and what it's supposed to do and what the processes are. And for me, once I learn how it works, I can understand it and I have perspective and I have some relation to how this is supposed to be incorporated in the entire system. And the same thing with you're talking about breath work and then how that connects you more to your body. That to me says that, being connected more with your body gives you more confidence. It could give you more sense of self, gives you more maybe enthusiasm around things that maybe you were worried about or struggle with. And maybe it gives you a little bit of just even if it's a 5%, just overall better feeling about, okay, things aren't that bad. Mm-hmm. I thought things were pretty crap. Turns out not that bad. That can go so far for mental health, for just your overall well-being.
It's a tool. I mean, we sit in front of the TVs and we're shown all these drug commercials. You go to the doctor and they ask, you say, I'm depressed. They give you a pill. They don't ask you if you're breathing. They don't ask you what you're eating unless, you're going to somewhere specialized. So you have to be your own advocate and you have to, at all costs, my brother says this to me, no one's going to come and save you. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that sucks, dude.
I mean, that's a part of it too. It's a part of growth, right?
There's power in that.
There's a huge, huge power in just owning it, but then coming to terms with it. That's kind of, it's a real thing. It's no one is going to save you. You have to do it for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself and you have to take the opportunities going to a breathwork class or going to a sound bathing class. If it's something that maybe you've had interest in, but you've never done before, maybe you've heard about it from a friend, but you're not sure if you'd be into it, just go. You never know. It's not going to hurt. It might change your life.
Man, and every time I go to a breathwork class, there's someone crying in it. And it's I've met people that they went and they didn't know what to expect and they end up in a ball of tears after. And it's oh my God, I had no idea I had this, that I was holding on to this,
Or I have to come back. I have to come back.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to let people have those experiences to really be fully in their emotions.
What would you say to someone who they hear that and they actually feel like that's something they want to avoid? And they're like, well, why would I want to do that? How do you approach You know, and I know in this, you're very much like the messenger, right? You're providing the opportunity for people to have this experience. And we'll talk maybe a little bit about your intro to wellness. But for someone who's listening, that's like, well, I don't know if that sounds like a good time. I don't know if I want to sign up for that. I don't want to be crying in a room full of strangers.
You don't want to go and signing up to be tormented by traumatizing thoughts. Like,
Like how do you approach encouraging somebody to understand what's potential on the other side of that? Or maybe how have you heard other people that you've met through this industry, how maybe they explain it to somebody or encourage somebody to participate?
I mean, with all the compassion I have, it's like, it's going to come for you anyway.
Yeah.
It's going to happen at some point. You know,
that's a good point.
It's going to happen in the car.
Yeah.
It's going to happen somewhere. Like, you're going to stub your toe. Something worse is going to happen.
But what it opens up, like, I did not know that I could live the life that I live. I didn't know that I could have experiences. I didn't know that life could be this way. I didn't know. It's a very, and it's maybe it's like a seed planted for somebody. And the thing is you don't always have to go there, right? Like, I think with sound baths too, as he mentioned, someone always cries. Sometimes you hear this insane, like, energetic laugh come out where maybe somebody's just been like hiding themselves from them. Like, it's this beautiful experience. As much as I've had a sound bath with Liz actually a couple months back. And I mean, I went to an incredibly dark place, but it was a dark place that I needed to close a chapter to. And I literally haven't. I opened my eyes and I was like, I'm free of this now. Yeah. And I went like this and my neck cracked. It was like, that was wild, man. Yeah. Whoa. Like, it was living with, trauma lives in your bones. It lives in your body. So you gotta, if you want to carry that around, that's a choice, man. But if you want to look in the eye and see, like, okay, look that in the eye. One thing Perri says, she's another practitioner who will be there, is like, it's just a ladder. You get on this ladder and then, like, there's this cool, like, subliminal messages that you get, and then it's like, oh man, okay, now it's the next one. Yeah. And it's this beautiful journey.
So it's kind of like self-acceptance, right? It's like, if you have a really, like, we're all wiggling around and floating through this planet. It's like, you kind of just got to accept that it's a weird experience and you got to get through it. And maybe sometimes that involves random laugh in a room full of strangers.
You're not supposed to feel good all the time. Like, you are not supposed to feel good all the time. And feeling heartbreak and feeling sadness and feeling discomfort is going to take you somewhere pretty cool.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do one of these darkness retreats where, like, they put you in a cave and you're just in there for like 7 days.
See, that doesn't sound like anything that I'd want to do.
Maybe like 3 days?
No, not even 30 minutes. Like, and I know that, like, we are very similar in a lot of ways, but we definitely have, like, differences.
Yeah. I've got a couple wires that are maybe crossed somewhere
in the back.
Maybe. It's just like, I know, like, I really like what you said about, it's going to come for you anyway. And I think this is like to put the message out there to men, I think, is like a really good way to think about it. We are, for the most part, taught from a young age that you have to be strong, you have to regulate your emotions, you have to be the man of the house, you have to be in charge of the breadwinner, or whatever, all of the typical, like, man or masculine tropes and stereotypes that there are. But there doesn't leave a lot of room for managing your mental health or managing your emotional well-being or learning how to do those things. Like, that's not in the rule book for being a dude, is like, go to a sound bath every 30 days because you might run somebody over because they, like, got in front of you on the bad day of the week that you're having, in this bad month that you're having, in this bad year that you had because you got divorced 6 months ago. Like, that's these are things that we can very easily do to avoid a lot of the inevitable outfall or outcomes of just hanging on to stuff instead of, we're not taught that, being open and honest about how you feel is the best way to do it. We're taught that you suck it up, you deal with it, you get a stiff upper lip, and then you keep it moving. Like, you're a dude, you gotta have this on a lid. But it's becoming more and more acceptable to be more emotionally vulnerable as a dude. And I think that's great. And at the extreme end of that, necessary.
Yeah, thank you. No, and I think it doesn't have to be like a men's vulnerability retreat where you like finally get in touch with your emotions. Like you can go to things like this and just kind of touch your toes in it and dabble with it and see what it feels like. It doesn't need to be, like a full immersion in that. And I think that's, I don't know. I mean, as a dad, as a guy, it's something I'm really proud of. Like it's taken a lot of years to be aware of my emotions. I still like run away from them, but at least I know I'm doing it. And I like, or I've gotten enough to like where I can understand where that came from and why.
Or what it is.
Yeah. And then also like go to a breathwork class and scream a lot is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned like dipping your toes in. What do you have a moment where that was maybe the case for you, where you were introduced to this whole concept of wellness?
That's a long answer.
Like, was it a yoga class? Was it a,
Yeah.
Like for Lindsay, it's the first time going to Rest Fest is like the kind of her intro into this world.
Yeah.
For me, it was reading a book called The Secret.
Cool.
Same.
Nice.
Exactly. Just have somebody said, read this book. I was like, this seems ridiculous. I read the book, changed my life.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. What was like, is there a moment, and I'm sure maybe there's many, but is there one that stands out for you?
I know I'm trying to condense it. 'Cause like my book was like the Mayan calendar back in 2012.
Oh, cool.
That was kind of like what kicked me off.
That's cool.
I could go on all about that. But that was more of an intro into the world of like understanding there's more out there and what is the ultimate truth and what do you want your worldview to be, is kind of where it kicked me off. And I think once I went there, it was like, well, what do I have inside myself that I'm like running away from? Or what do I have that is my power? How do I find that? And I think, so for me, it was breathwork was the first one where I was like, oh my God, this is, it felt like church in a way where it was like I'm coming in contact with some divine source, which was me, just my body more energized through oxygenation. But it was that process of understanding, okay, this is how I clear my head. This is how I can find my power again. And as my head clears, I have a better understanding of where I want to go and who I want to be. And I can just access that by breathing. And then it was like, that was my outside experience, but I also do sound baths around town. And that came from, I played in bands in high school. My dad plays in bands, my brother does. So like, we're like a musical family, but I wanted to find some way of incorporating music into a live experience that wasn't so much like a band experience. And so sound baths for me was like, okay, I can be on the stage, I can provide sound, I can play music, but it's actually for more of a service for people, And then, I mean, you've been to my sound baths. I'm actually going to have one. Okay, just plugging big time here, but I'm the last 2 years I did Rest Fest, I didn't want to be on a schedule because it's not about me. But like this year, I wanted to do something different, and so I put myself on the schedule. And it's a sound bath at Dogwood Dell, but it's actually more of, I call it a group toning experience. So I've hired a choir and we're rehearsing, and I want to put the choir out in the crowd and have the crowd kind of mimic what the choir is doing and have the entire crowd sing together. So it's a participatory experience.
That's cool.
Of a sound bath. And I think that's also part of a cathartic experience. If we can all not just like talk together, which is important, and screaming together is important, but if we can also sing together too, whatever will come up there, I think will also be really powerful for people. And again, like in my head, I'm like, oh my God, if I can imagine the whole amphitheater singing together,
it's just that feeling of connection. It's such a, I mean, like I think about connection, like I feel it when I'm like watching sports with people or something, but like when do you feel like someone's voice as a whole and you're in this mindset of, I mean, your body's just, once you've done a sound bath for 40 minutes, you're just pretty vulnerable and pretty open.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be so amazing as he's been building that up. I have been so excited for it.
The power of sound is amazing.
It's wild.
This is definitely a room full of music lovers. Like Perri's a DJ. I pretty much have like a mini music production studio at my house. I love music. Clearly, the both of you do as well and have been impacted by it a lot. I think people underestimate the power of sound. Maybe not like the first time I was introduced to wellness, but seeing like a wellness heavy community was when I went to La Jolla in California. And everybody there is like, they just wake up and like eat an acai bowl and do some hum. And like everybody's just chill. And I was like, I like this. This is cool. And my buddy Jason walked me through not a sound bath, but like, and I'm doing a disservice, but essentially like a vocal exercise, and you're doing these patterns of humming and like, and you're doing it as a group. And I was blown away because I went into it thinking like, what could this possibly do? And then at the end of it, you're like, wow, that was pretty awesome. Like, and it really shifts your paradigm around how you think about sound. Because it's one thing just like listening to it in your ears, but it's a whole another thing feeling it and then also being around other people and being like around, the energy field of other people that are doing that same thing. Yeah, and it really shifts maybe the way that you think about sound and how it impacts you, especially involving other people around you. So that sounds like a really cool way to incorporate sound. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. That's cool.
Great. On the opposite side of that, we have our 9D breathwork. That's going to be an offering by a practitioner. Her name's Christy. She'll have an island of her own. And those are all a sound immersive experience. I'll say I don't have the exact right words in front of me right now of how to describe it. But what that is everyone wears their own headphones. So
that's cool.
Wow, we have this as an experience. This is an own island. So this is an experience in which you can sign up prior to the event on our Instagram and on Christy's page as well. But you'll also be able to sign up day of, and she will provide headphones for everyone. And you have this insane personal experience. I did the 75-minute work with her, where I went into my subconscious and built a life. This was probably 6 months ago, and there are things that I built that are happening now today.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then you come out of this experience and you take your headphones off and you share your experience. So it's very personal. And it's very intentional, and I kind of like more so goal setting. But just a very, as you have, something that everyone can join into. It's on the other side of it.
That really sounds cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Like
power of affirmation.
Yeah, the power of affirmation is crazy, and that's like a really cool visual for how something like that can really maybe even like jumpstart portions or parts of your life that you're looking to improve, or things that you want to do. Visualization is a big part of, the manifesting that's taught in The Secret. And it's hard for some people to visualize just in general. I learned recently that not everybody has like the same type of mind's eye. So I'm a very visual person. I can imagine something almost exactly the way that I've seen it. Some people don't see things like that. Some people see vague amorphous blobs when you tell them to picture an elephant. Some people just see like a cartoon drawing of, and there's lots of different, ways that people will visualize things, but having that space and enough time to really get down in there and like maybe just let these things kind of, manifest on their own is maybe a very unique experience that then once you've done it, it's like, okay, and I got to do that again. I would love to make this a common, a regular occurrence. That's very cool.
So you mentioned the word island a moment ago. Tell us about the islands.
You want to do that?
Sure. Yeah. So we've got kind of three different situations going on here. We have Dogwood Dell. Dogwood Dell is the main stage we'll begin at 10 a.m. and that is free all day. Everyone that attends that portion of the event. Of course, we would love, we'll have places for donation signs up, but that is free. Come as you will, come as you wish. Mikasa Sukasa. We also have a vendor aisle, vendor street.
Yeah, vendor market.
Yeah. Of about I'd say 30 to 40 vendors.
Yeah.
We're still working on figuring out how many we can fit because, like I said, the more the merrier. And those will be available. Those will be open all day as well, but they'll be closed. We'll have a closed from 2 to 3 just for shopping. Because what we found was the past 2 years, the vendors never really got like the full attention. And we want to make sure that they are seen and they are able to, have people come and purchase their things. So vendors of all different sorts. You want to call out any vendors?
Well, I mean, Ninja Kombucha is going to be there. Also, I think we didn't say this so much, but like it's an alcohol-free festival. It's important to provide that experience for people. There's not a lot of like alcohol-free events or outdoor things happening in Richmond. And part of that is like 0.5. It's a bottle shop in Carytown that sells non-alcoholic spirits. They're coming. Ninja Kombucha is coming. There's a lot of candles. Oh man, I don't know off the top of my head. I don't want to call out, but I'd like the idea of those types of places getting their platform too, because I think that's building a lot. Like the sober community, sober curious.
It is,
especially in Gen Z. It's fascinating. Why not make that a focus in a place that can happen?
Yeah, and what they're doing for the community, 0.5 is just. It's just awesome. I mean, as somebody who doesn't drink, it is amazing to have something fun to drink.
Yeah. We know about that all too well. 0.5 is a partner of the Vera House podcast and has been for a while. So we love them over at 0.5. We have a few bottles from the shop over in our little bar cart over there, and we've had the opportunity to sample lots of different types of non-alcoholic beverages, and I think that's a big part of making the space more accessible, like talking about access and things like that. But, the event being alcohol free, I think is great. There is a big, I don't want to call it a resurgence, but a big, boom in interest from people who are curious about, well, what's going on over here? Not necessarily like ready to stop drinking, but I'm curious about what is an alcohol free event? What are these alcohol alternative beverages? What does that even mean? And there's so many now, which is fantastic. There's variety. There's wine, there's beer, there's seltzers, there's tea. There's all kinds of stuff that you can have and you can try and that are, that will check different boxes for you, which I think is very important. Like this is a little tangent, but it's still on topic. I went to Las Vegas for the first time really to experience Vegas this past weekend. And I've been sober for about almost a year now. And when you think about Vegas, being sober is not the first thing you think about.
Yeah. So
I went there not even thinking about what am I going to drink and where am I going to get it. There wasn't really anything to get there. There was most bars didn't have any option for non-alcoholic beverages.
Wow.
The ones that they do were the only ones that were available at one point in time.
Shirley Temple.
O'Doul's.
Yeah, O'Doul's.
O'Doul's, yeah.
Shirley Temple, seltzer water with the lime, the non-alcoholic mass-produced beers and things like that. So it made me really appreciate all of the options that we have here, because all I wanted was like a Zen drink. I wanted one of the little canned Zen that's like a nootropic and an adaptogenic drink that's great if you just want a little bit of a boost, but you don't want any caffeine. I was like, that's all I want right now. Or, maybe some Athletic Brewing Co. beers. That's like, it's like no one knows that I'm not drinking a beer. And that's exactly the point. I don't want to stand out because I don't want a beer. I want to be a part of what everybody's doing. I just don't want any alcohol. Yeah. I think this is a really good opportunity for people who have maybe been curious, even if you're on the fringes. It's like, well, I still want a beer, but I'd be down to go and check out what's going on over there. I think that's incredible.
It's interesting, like how the vibe is different when there's no alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot chiller and kind of welcoming. Fun fact, we need less porta potties because it's alcohol free.
We don't. Another fun fact, we don't need police officers for the city because there's no alcohol involved. I mean, it's
well, we'll see once the screaming starts.
Yeah, they'll come for free after that point.
Yeah.
So previously I actually used to live out in Moseley, like off Skin Quarter Road, right? So it's been in Midlothian, right? So let's talk about Dogwood Dell itself, right? Anybody who's not familiar with what Dogwood Dell is, it is an outdoor amphitheater. It's beautiful. It's in one of them, and I'm biased because I live over there, but it's like one of the most beautiful parts of the neighborhood.
Yes.
All the parks are over there. You're pretty close to nature. And it is a historic outdoor amphitheater. There's all kinds of shows and plays and all kind. There's no better place to do it. Like you guys picked the perfect place to do it. How did that happen? How did that come about?
Well, okay. Short answer. That was like always the vision for me. In 2018, before I started doing sound baths, I did like a meditation on my couch and I fell asleep and I woke up and the vision in my head was I'm sitting on the stage at Dogwood Dell and I'm ringing a bowl and then there's a crowd in front of me and they're all singing. But I hadn't done any sound baths by that point. Wow. I hadn't even started. And so in a way, like I've been chasing it and making it real all this time. But I always felt like I just always loved that place.
Same.
It always needs to be, it always made the most sense because it's such a beautiful amphitheater. And I feel like it deserves experiences like that for people to go to. They do a great job with programming. And I love, shout out Cameron Booth.
Cameron.
Yeah. Beautiful guy that's
Absolutely
like wanting
lovely.
to change and innovate on what Dogwood Dell can do.
So helpful.
He's always been a like champion of what this is, you know, and he's always believed in it.
And that leads us to, after Rick secured the partnership and we got with Cameron, we got the permit in, we talked to Keep Virginia Cozy and asked like, hey, would you guys want to be a part of this? They're like, absolutely. So, I mean, what a better place, like this city that we love, this heart of right by. Unfortunately, how much trash is there is, I mean, no matter, I live on right off Forest Hill and my friends and I will clean up at least once a month, and the amount of trash that there's, it's just, you can't keep up with it. So the fact that they were willing to partner with us, it just really just was like the icing on the cake for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Their mission is incredible, and I just love the idea of people being able to get a little bit of work in and then rest for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to give a little bit of a tidbit on the Carillon neighborhood for those that are curious. So I live in Carillon, and Carillon is on the National Historic Registry for the United States. It was one of the first neighborhoods in the entire United States to willingly integrate. And all the houses there were built in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, when there was a lot of like racial tension and stuff like that. And Carillon was one of the first neighborhoods to willingly integrate. It's also the home of the War Memorial Tower, the Carillon Bell Tower, which has recently been fully renovated and refurbished. They redid the bell and redid the whole thing. They're opening up a World War I museum in the bottom of the Carillon Tower. And many people don't know this, but the Carillon Tower is the sister monument to the Washington Monument. And during construction, it was built to match the Washington Monument. And you know how if you go to DC, there's a reflection pool in front of the Washington Monument.
Oh my gosh.
If you see that big dugout in front of the Carillon, that was originally meant to be a reflection pool in front of that tower. But World War II broke out and they never finished it. And now, of course, it has just become a field for people to play disc golf and soccer and all that different stuff.
Yes.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And the Carillon neighborhood is it's very historic. I think it's definitely like a gem in the city. It's one of the only remaining neighborhoods where the city funds actually go towards the landscaping and like keeping that part of the city like really beautiful, because it's kind of a representation of at least a certain part of Richmond and a certain type of feel in Richmond. And that's why all the parks are there and the Vita exercise trail. So when it comes to like wellness, I think the Carillon and the Dogwood Dell Amphitheater and just Dogwood Dell in general is like, it's the perfect setting for it. It's right next to Maymont. You've got all the wildlife there. Right behind it is the river. You can walk on that little access trail straight to the Pump House Park, which is also have millions of dollars poured into it to make it like this beautiful kind of community public felt project. It's like, it's the perfect place for it. So it's really cool that obviously you had that vision, right? And it kind of like came to life, obviously. But clearly it's kind of culminated in like a really cool thing. So if people have never been to that part of town, now's the perfect excuse to come like see it, experience it, be a part of it. So yeah, really, really cool that it ended up there.
It's super cool.
And also there's a good parking lot. So
True.
like
Lots of
parking's
parking.
not a huge
Yeah.
problem.
Plenty of
Yes.
Lots of
yes,
parking.
yes,
You got
yes,
the little
yes, yes.
tents, the little cabanas, bungalows, what do you want to call them, with the grills where you can like
Yeah.
grill out over there. It's
Mhm.
all public access park area, which I always thought was cool. You know, I'm
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
here, so I've been, to cookouts and family gatherings and things in that
Oh,
part of
yeah.
town. Over the years, it's great that it's still there.
Yeah. So many people will want to attend, but I'm sure people may be wondering, how can they volunteer? How can they participate in the event and be part of it, maybe to a different degree? And we'll link all the information for where people can volunteer in the show notes. But can you talk a little bit about what you're looking for in volunteers? What are volunteers going to be doing?
Yeah,
Well,
for
yeah.
sure. There you go.
We need volunteers for the event throughout the day. One of the things that we did too is the Keep Virginia Cozy partnership is a volunteer event to kind of give back to the parks. But that's a great way to like do your part in the beginning of the day. But yeah, we have a lot of shifts in the morning, in the evening. There's different areas of the park that you can be involved in. You can be part of the artist relations if you want to be on stage, or you can be part of the vendor market to help them out. Islands, the info tables. I mean, what else?
Yeah, I think we're so we'll have the vendor form. We'll be sharing that out. So we'll have we're seeing it as 3 4-hour shifts. So from 8, through morning shift, afternoon shift, evening shift, looking for help with keeping up with getting people wayfinding, I think is going to be the most important thing. People don't necessarily have to sign in because nothing's being paid for, but just making sure people know where they're going. They know where the vendors are. They know where the islands are, keeping up with any trash that we need. Keep Virginia Cozy has been awesome, and we're just allowing us to throw our trash with their trash, and just keeping up with the logistics of the day. So we'll need a handful of people for that. We would love help. Google form will be the way to apply for that. And then those will be, like I said, 4-hour shifts, and you can enjoy depending on what you're looking to do. I would say take a look at the schedule for the day. Take a look at what the islands are offering, and maybe if you do want to volunteer, just work your day around what you want to do while you're there.
Yeah.
It'll be a great way. Last year we had a great turnout for volunteers, and I think I'm still talking to 2 of the volunteers today, and I think a couple of them are still friends. So although it is, it's donation based, there's not much of a drive. Last year we offered 1 free day for volunteering, but I will say that, just maybe getting to know the community a little bit more, and if you're maybe new to the community or want to meet new people, it's a good way to just kind of dig your hands in a little bit more than just attending.
I feel like the whole event is a great opportunity for people to meet new people, right? Explore sobriety, maybe see a part of the city you haven't always been to. And I know that you mentioned that it's donation based, pay what you can, and that, in theory, there's no cost. And just getting to know the both of you and seeing how much you care deeply about that part of the event, I think we'd love to potentially just kind of advocate on your behalf and encourage people to pay what they can. Like truly, even, whatever it is, put something forth, because that's what makes events like this possible. There's a reason that nobody's done it before, and that's because events aren't free. Like you mentioned, porta potty, like all these things have a cost attributed to them. So even though, yes, you could show up empty-handed, if you're in a position where you can afford to not show up empty-handed, of course, we encourage people to do that, right? And it's a local community. It's not like you're, going to a festival in Miami, right? It's like, it's here, it's in our hometown, it's part of Richmond. We mentioned this just the other day, like we are a small town masquerading as a big city. Yeah. And so, show up with a few bucks and contribute towards all the people putting this on. And I think, I just wanted to make a point to say that. Yeah. So, of course, all the information is going to be in the description below on the website. So tell us about your website a little bit. Like, what is all the information that's on there? Because, of course, people may have some questions and want to know the agenda and the schedule and the lineup and all that type of stuff. Is there anything that's coming soon to the website or that you're still planning to put up there that people can go check out, or what's on there now that people can kind of use to get more familiar with everything that's going on?
Okay, it's rvaresfest.com is the website. You're looking at the web designer, so apologies in the comments.
It's beautiful.
As a web developer, it's pretty good.
Thank you. It's pretty good. I like that. I'll take it. Yeah. No, there's a lot. We actually have a deal with Tao, the Art of Us studio in Carytown. They are offering 3 classes for $33.
Mm-hmm.
So if you pay $33 to ResFest, you'll get a coupon for 3 free classes. And so that's one thing that they're doing that we love. We love them.
They just also opened their second location in Forest Hill.
Nice.
Yeah.
Next week, I think I think they already have classes. So, big supporter of them, and then just awesome for them to support us right back.
One thing that is going to come on the website, talk about the secret manifesting. We have in partnership with Tao, it's called the Friends of ResFest Collective Manifestation Event. And what that is it's technically a fundraiser, sure, but we want the people that are coming to help collectively meditate on the intention of ResFest and collectively meditate on what the highest form output, like what the best outcome of ResFest could be. Have these supporters come and do it with us. And Kat from Tao is going to lead like a class on clearing our mind, and then we're going to do an intention setting exercise. We're going to have a sound bath after that to really kind of ground in the intention. But that's our form of like a fundraiser event for ResFest, is to have the people that are coming support us, not just like financially, but energetically. That's going to be April 18th. So that's coming on the website. We also got a cool one too. April 25th is this mindset about it's a small business mindset workshop. So it's led by this consultancy called Silver Advisors, and they've been really great working with me just to help shape ResFest. So what they want to do is help you think about the growth mindset around a small business. So it's not really just about, knowing how to grow, and knowing what you need to do to grow as a small business, but it's really more about like addressing the mindset and limitations on growing as a small business. Like they're going to be doing that as a workshop that's coming on the 25th of April. So those are 2 things we want to do for the community before ResFest, and those are going to be on the website as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
We'll link that stuff as well. And I think, we're all entrepreneurs to a degree, right?
Yeah.
I think like wellness and entrepreneurship are very well
hand in
connected.
hand.
It's like you have to be the best version of yourself. You're always in this endless pursuit of trying to like maximize your fullest potential. So I love that like entrepreneurship is incorporated into all this as well.
Awesome.
It's really cool.
Thank you.
Anything that we didn't cover? Anything else that we need to dive into?
Did I give enough information about islands? I don't think I did. I think I accidentally went straight into vendors.
Well, we have like a good problem in that we have too many.
Well, I just want to make sure I delineate the difference between the main, our main Dogwood Dell stage, as that is free, donate as you wish, come as you will, and the islands are whether there'll be facilitators, we'll have a stained glass workshop there. Those will be those will come at the price point per the vendor or the facilitator. So that all that information will be on the website. It'll be on our social media, and we'll be linking to their social media as well. So it's just a different what we found with the islands were, I had said this earlier, but like, I'm a producer. Rick's an editor. Rick's a motion graphics. He works at Capital One. So we aren't the experts here. So what we did was, why don't we offer larger spaces where the experts can host what they want for the day?
Yeah.
And just get the most out of the space.
Fest.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. That's cool.
So those are premium experiences that can be priced in whatever they want to price them at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then that goes, they keep all their proceeds, and and it's just a way to, again, it's just we're the dot connectors, and let the amazing, beautiful humans do
let
the work.
The community do what it does.
Exactly.
Support itself, provide services, and create a space for people to enjoy the city and enjoy each other.
Yeah.
And that's all in the Carillon lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're far enough away from the amphitheater to have their own experience, and they're stretched out too along the entire lawn.
That's
it's gonna
pretty
be
cool.
Great.
Yeah.
It's a
Very
beautiful
nice.
experience.
Well, we want to thank you both, obviously, for what you're doing for the community, putting the event together, making it possible. And it sounds like we'll be seeing everybody on May 9th. And so whether you want to become a sponsor, be a vendor, or get tickets, obviously, we'd love to see everybody there. We'll be seeing you there. We will be there. And thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
It's great.
Yeah. This podcast was recorded at Vera House Studios in Richmond, Virginia, and produced by Perri Young and Myke Metzger.